Hey guys! Welcome to another episode of Bible Q&A. Today we're discussing why was Christ so particular about the hypocrisy of the Pharisees? Well, let's address his concerns in Matthew chapter 23, the main chapter that deals with his grievances with the Pharisees. For example, he starts his tirade by saying, "All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers." Matthew chapter 23 verses 3 to 4. Essentially, they heavily enforced proper observance of the Mosaic law on the people, but they ignored the passages of the Mosaic law that asked them to help people, like debt relief in Deuteronomy chapter 15. False pastors do this today with their insistence on tithes and people sowing their seeds. They will cite all the verses that guilt you into giving them your money, but they won't use that money to help people like widows and orphans, like the apostles did in Acts chapter 6 verse 1. The problems the flock go through are none of their concern. Of course, the Pharisees were a little smarter than these false pastors because they did try to make it look like they believed in all the stuff they were preaching. They strained their faces when fasting, according to Matthew chapter 6 verse 16, and they kept holy artifacts meticulously clean, according to Matthew chapter 23 verse 25. However, because they didn't cleanse their insides of greed, the cleanliness of their outward garments and cups didn't matter. The aforementioned verse reads, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess." It was spiritually useless to make the temple stuff look holy if the people maintaining it weren't, but it was useful for justifying the money needed for said maintenance. Even the flock learned a thing or two from their crafty preachers. After spending so much time following the Mosaic law as the Pharisees demanded, they felt they didn't need to do anything else for God. So these practices eventually helped to justify their own greed. Through Zechariah, God told them, "When ye fasted and mourned in the 5th and 7th month, even those 70 years, did ye at all fast unto me, even to me? And when ye did eat, and when ye did drink, did not ye eat for yourselves and drink for yourselves?" Zechariah chapter 7 verses 5 to 6. The sacrifices made them feel like they had satisfied their spiritual obligations. Indeed, once the sacrifices stopped being so meticulous, according to Malachi chapter 1 verse 8, God eventually got tired of the whole institution, because it had lost its essence. He said in Isaiah, "To what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me, saith the Lord? I am full of the burnt offerings of rams and the fat of fed beasts, and I delight not in the blood of bullocks, or of lambs, or of he-goats." Isaiah chapter 1 verse 11. It was virtue he wanted, and he wasn't getting it. Now, if the Pharisees were just twisting the Mosaic law to make some extra cash, Jesus' lecture might not have been so long. But this selective observance even went to the point of ignoring the commandment against murder in order to get rid of Lazarus, whose resurrection was bringing a lot of people to Jesus. But the chief priests consulted that they might put Lazarus also to death, because that by reason of him many of the Jews went away and believed on Jesus. John chapter 12 verses 10 to 11. Even if Jesus was an actual blasphemer, you can't kill an innocent person just to enforce a law on blasphemy. But the Pharisees weren't doing this because they were dumb dictators, like some of the ones we see today. They cleverly used the law's positions to legitimize their political dealings. They had the authority to judge blasphemers, according to Deuteronomy chapter 17 verses 9 to 12, meaning that anyone they despised would be considered a persona non grata. This is why the parents of the blind man wouldn't tell the Jews who cured their son, in John chapter 9 verses 20 to 21. They could be considered accomplices in the crime of witchcraft. They could then reverse the situation and convince the Jews to support their alliance with the Romans. If the Pharisees, the judges of the law, were dealing with the Romans, then it was all for good, for maintaining the peace. And so they accepted this alliance, even if they still wished to be independent. The Pharisees were worried Jesus would upset this balance, according to John chapter 11 verse 48, causing a rebellion that the Romans would depose them for. Again, many Christian leaders have made these kinds of alliances, in the past and present. Many major Christian denominations have legal ties to their governments, like the churches of England and Sweden. And nowadays, we have pastors that openly support political parties, even though both sides aren't interested in the spiritual welfare of the people. John received a prophecy about this in Revelation chapter 17, which features a prostitute who has committed fornication with the leaders of the world. They have used her to legitimize their rulership under the divine right of kings, and they together have led the world away from the humble ideals of Christianity, according to verses 1 and 2. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Naturally, the churches couldn't create such unions if they preached the truth to the monarchs they were trying to make alliances with. Jesus made it quite clear that Christianity is against the ruthless pursuit of power. And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted. Matthew chapter 23, verse 12. Thus, to win the monarchs and the people to their side, they had to preach a different doctrine, a doctrine that encouraged greed for money and power, a doctrine that would doom them all. Isaiah, playing on similar themes, told us, For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 16. If the children of God aren't careful, they'll believe in such doctrines too, according to Matthew chapter 24, verse 24. This was why Jesus called them sons of devils in John. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. John chapter 8, verse 44. Before they even acquired power, Satan created religious systems that would deceive most of humanity, according to 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 13 to 15, so that they could be destroyed with him, according to Revelation chapter 12, verse 4. The Pharisees were just copying his example. Therefore, we must make sure that our worship isn't just a tool to raise our status among others, or help other people achieve that purpose. The only person faith helps is the person who believes, so a person who truly believes won't go throwing it around hypocritically. Only God will know the people who are truly righteous, and he will reward them accordingly. Before all his talk about the Pharisees, Jesus said, That thine alms may be in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly. Matthew chapter 6, verse 4. With verses like these in mind, hypocrisy won't be that much of a problem. And that is where I'm going to stop with this Bible Q&A. Why was Christ so particular about the hypocrisy of the Pharisees? He didn't like their hypocrisy because it didn't help anybody, it hid their greed and that of their flocks, and it vindicated their alliances with political leaders. Thank you for listening! Don't forget to like and subscribe!